wait 30 seconds.
No, I know.
Let's turn the clock and check how many time we have. What's up, everybody? I am Johnny Ray.
I'm Amanda.
And this is 5R Recovery. You like that pause I do right before? And this, I sound like a professional.
You do, actually do. You can like Casey Kasem.
Hey, I love, people don't even know who Casey Kasem is anymore.
I just dated myself big time, didn't I?
You did. Everybody now knows how old Amanda is. They're like, Casey Kasem. Dude, who did I ask the other day? I asked a friend of mine if they knew who Scooby-Doo was, and it was kids. And he was like, no, I don't know who Scooby-Doo is. He was like, what? Is that like a guy or something? I'm like,
what kind of children are you bringing up?
Seriously, how do you not know what Scooby-Doo is? What's the matter with you?
Right.
What is going on in this world?
Oh, my Lord.
So how are you, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you? How's your week going?
It's okay.
Good. All right.
There's some things going on in recovery that we like, some things that are more difficult, but we're working through them.
Yes, that's what we do, right?
Yeah. I want to talk about your thing that you're doing on Facebook today. It was pretty cool.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
Plug it.
So on the Facebook 5R Recovery group page, so we have two separate Facebook pages. We have a Facebook page and we have a Facebook group. So it'd be on the Facebook group, which is like our interactive page that we have on Facebook. I'm going to be asking a daily question, and I want all of you to answer. There is no right or wrong answer. Just speak from your heart, and it's raw and real, and just answer just your honest truth. And it's a great way for everybody to be connected. It's a great way for people to get to know each other better, to find out who has like interests or like-minded, and maybe gain some friendships and just have everybody feel connected and plugged in. So
God, that's beautiful.
I love it.
Everything you just said is just beautiful. It's like interacting in recovery.
I love it.
Gosh, I guess we got to
thunk it.
Right, I'm right. I think we got to use the tools in front of us, right? And I think our social media, as much as I have a distaste for it because of certain things that happen, we don't need to get into that. But again, it's a great tool to reach people.
I agree.
And interacting with people in recovery is exactly what it's all about. It's all about community and finding your place. Now, these questions are not going to be like, what's your favorite color? Are they?
No.
Right.
And we'll throw in some funny ones, like, keep it lighthearted. We don't want to keep it serious all the time. But yeah, no, I've got already a list of questions to ask. And if anybody has any questions that they feel they should ask, feel free to private message me and we'll throw it in there.
Love that. Fat Pat already says, oh my God, that's badass. Thank you, Fat Pat, for your contribution. Fat Pat is really stepping up his A game. I got to be honest, dude. Yep. He's getting involved in everything. Spits fire at the diversion center. He's going to be the huge prototype for a project that we're doing.
Nice.
I'm really excited. We are doing some amazing things. What was your question today on the group?
So the question, what was it? My question today was,
or just generalize.
So as far as coping goes, we have to find a way to fill our time and cope with life, right? So when we don't have substances anymore, how do you cope? And what activities have you done or picked up, or what is it that you like to do to keep yourself calm or combat anxiety and stress? And for me, I paint and I write and I meditate. I love to meditate.
Oh my gosh, those are three really good ones. Yeah. If you're a good painter and a good writer, obviously.
I don't know about good, but I like to do it. So.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, but I've seen you're pretty good at it. That's the thing. Same with my buddy Kyle, who can draw. I don't have those artistic capabilities.
But you are very creative.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a one cycle mind, but I think it's important because everything I did, I turned to drugs to deal with.
Absolutely.
Whether it was my feelings, whether it was like a lot of people, I love that. I think you wrote this in the group chat. People get bored so easy when they get the clean. Yep. Well, freaking deal with it. You are going to be bored. Deal with it. Why do you think? Because the methamphetamine, the heroin is shooting off all of these things in your brain and making everything interesting. You think life is that interesting? It ain't. All right. It really isn't. It's not that exciting. I mean, it can be after some recovery, you start finding out who you are. But God, it took me years before I started feeling. When somebody asked me, what are your hobbies? I'm like, I don't know. Drugs? Because that was always what it was. Well, we would go to a party, but we get loaded before. We would go to a game, we get loaded before. Everything we did, family, anniversaries, whatever it is.
And loaded.
Loaded. And that's all I knew to do. So, folding laundry sober sucks.
I know, right? Or taking out
I used to love folding laundry tweaking, bro. I'd my socks would all be laid out perfectly. My shirts would be perfectly folded. The drawers would be, it was awesome. Laundry tweaking was one of those things where, or like balancing your checkbook. Or like,
you had a checkbook in active addiction?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
What kind of addict were you? Like
responsible?
I know, I guess
somebody who had a job.
So I had a debit card and everybody's like, oh my God, you have a
debit card? Yeah. When addicts fall from all different types of trees. I mean, I did have a couple girlfriends steal it and then run up thousands of dollars on it. And a couple bank accounts still don't want to talk to me again. Stuff that just happens. I mean, this is part of our active addiction.
Right.
But God, I liked doing stuff then, and the stimuli in my head went away when I got clean.
So how do you stimulate yourself now without substances?
God.
Love that answer.
That's it.
Love that.
God's everything.
Yep.
Give it all to God.
Mhm.
I wake up in the morning, God. Before I go to bed, God. And it's very, very easy for me to relinquish control of myself,
I love that.
surrender myself to God. Like I went to a revival night last night, downtown Seattle, Pursuit Northwest. There's your plug.
Mhm.
Hit me up. Obviously, Pastor Russell, an amazing revival night, Philadelphia church, probably around 1,200 people
Wow.
worshiping. I got there at 4. I didn't leave until about 9.
That's
So
awesome.
5 hours, rocked the place. The speaker system was amazing. The lights, the confetti. I mean, it was one of those cool things. So
Yeah,
that's what I do.
that's
I
cool.
go and find events that are better for my soul now that
Love that.
don't involve drugs. So
I love that.
I guess I could have wrote it all out, but it's better that I said it on video.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah. So should we get Bradley in here?
Absolutely.
We have an amazing guest coming in tonight who's
Yes.
agreed to do his testimony. He's a little nervous audience, so just be,
Be loving and
constructive.
kind.
What does Pat say? I can do stick figures, no problem. Awesome. Great, Pat. Thank you. It's awesome. He's like drawing stick figures.
I know, I love
That's
it.
what he does to entertain himself.
Yeah.
Is he writes stick figures,
Yeah.
which is great. Anybody can do stick figures.
I
Pat.
love it. I
It's
love
good
it.
stuff. So why don't we introduce Pat?
Yes.
Thank you, Amanda.
Brad.
You're
Thank you
very, very
very much.
awesome. Appreciate you. All right, Brad. Let's go. He's excited. You can tell. It's an excitement thing. Let's make sure you're on centered here. So should I do my plug now?
I think you should.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of For Addicts, From Addicts, real, raw, unedited, and unprepared stories and testimonies of people who have gone through addiction and are now working some kind of a recovery program, preferably 5R. With me today is my guest, Brad, who has agreed to share his testimony with us. We believe at 5R Recovery, the genuine, the raw, the real, the vulnerable are the ones that get the most recovery. So our testimony, the first R in 5R Recovery is remembering where we came from. So we want to get addicts' testimonies. We want to hear their stories. We want to hear their life experiences. We want to hear the struggles and the successes, because there's somebody out there right now, one of you stoners, one of you tweakers, one of you brown clowns, one of you, wire strippers, you bikers, you backpack wearers. I mean, give me some, you torch lighter holders. Yeah. Tweaker peeking. One of you people who could hear Brad's story and go, man, that sounds like me. That's what changed my life in recovery, is when I heard somebody's story that sounded like me. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend Brad. He's going to share as much of his story as he would like. I'll center you right here, bro. See if I can get this over. Is this thing in the way? No? Okay. And it's all you, Brad. I'll be back here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brad, of course.
Nice.
I'm an addict. Where to start? Goes back a long ways. Parents, they got divorced at a very young age for me. Dealt with a father who was very abusive. Always beat my mom, and that's why they ended up separating and getting divorced. Growing up, living with him, he was very abusive. It's tough to bring up things like he molested me, not only physically, emotionally, mentally abused me on a daily basis until I was about 14. Had to deal with CPS multiple times. CPS would just put me right back into the abuse. Nowadays they don't, but back then they would just put you right back in with the abuser. I come from a family of alcoholics, both from my mom and dad's side. Grandma was always drinking, especially after my grandfather died. Living life, I dealt with a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of depression, anger, hurt, just dealing with, what we consider as a normal life. So coming from a family of alcoholics, my choice of, addiction was being an alcoholic, drinking all the time. Figured, getting drunk would take away the pain, only to realize that the next morning, being sober, the pain is still there. The troubles are still there, no matter what. With the trauma that I dealt with as a child, I had troubles with relationships, not just family, but just even like having a significant other, girlfriend, even female friends was really tough. Because I didn't know how to deal with that. My parents never really taught me anything. I mean, my mom taught me how to cook, but other than that, never sat down, talked about the drugs, alcohol, never talked about, the birds and the bees. Lots of things I had to learn at a young age. Used to have an addiction to watching porn, hang out with my buddy in middle school middle school to high school and that. Just hang out, watching porn, playing video games and that. When I've also been homeless multiple times. My mom threw me out at 17. Was living out on the streets, ended up staying in the shelter downtown. And then decided to go to Job Corps to try to get off the streets, try to straighten up my life. Got out of Job Corps, went into Job Corps in 1997, got out in 2000, ended up going and staying with my mom afterwards and getting a job working at Wendy's where I met my ex-wife. Ended up one day her half-sister came in and wanted her sister to go, or my girlfriend to go and do crystal meth. So I went to her dad to stop that whole situation, and he ended up throwing her out. She ended up moving down to Bremerton, and then I get a call saying, "Hey, you want to get married?" Took me 3 days, asking friends, family, what they thought, and decided to go with it. Now, if I knew then what I know now, I don't think I would have ever gotten married, honestly. I dealt with a lot of crap in marriage. I mean, we separated like 3 times. She cheated on me 5 different times throughout the marriage, which added more, trauma to what I've always was already dealing with in life. Was working long hours, became addicted to Yellow Jackets with ephedra, taking them daily until the government finally decided to ban it due to a baseball player's heart exploding on him and dying from ephedra. So I had to find another addiction, so I went back to drinking. Again, thinking I was going to dull the pain. Waking up the next morning, still slaps you in the face. Reality is always going to be there. Ended up living down in Vegas for a while. Lived there for 5 years. Surprisingly, hardly ever gambled living there. But, I mean, temptation for alcohol is always there down in Vegas. You walk into a bar, just even put $1 in the slot, and they're already asking you, what do you want to drink? And I mean, alcohol is flowing everywhere. Hello, Gracie.
It's cool when it's all interactive, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
That ended up coming back up to Washington, lived with or tried to work on my marriage, only to be found out that I was only being used to get rid of the guy that she and my ex-wife was seeing and had a child with while we were separated. I do have a son. He'll be 18 in May. God, he's an adult already. I mean, time goes by quick. I mean, he watched me be drunk all the time. And that I used to work at a liquor store in Bremerton all the time. I mean, getting alcohol there is easy. And then I had a coworker that, after we got off work, we'd sit in the parking lot, have a drink, go home, drink some more. What really woke me up from my addiction to alcohol is I had a buddy in Vegas who was drinking for many years, trying to quit drinking, came into work, and I mean, he just had the shakes really, really, really bad. And I was a floor supervisor at the job we were working at. It was a call center. And I told him, it's like, I can't have you sitting on my floor, shaking all day on the phone and that. So I need you to, go have one drink and come back. Don't say anything. Just come back, do your job. And he comes back. He's not shaking as much. But to see him that way was scaring me. I've lost people to alcoholism through car wrecks, suicide, just many different things that really alcohol was not the answer that could have maybe saved them. One Christmas a few years ago, before my mom passed away, she sat both me and my younger brother down and said, hey, I can't afford anything, so let's sit here and drink. So as the three of us were, sitting there drinking on Christmas, my 18th birthday, going to high school full-time, senior year, working at Target full-time, and then going over to my grandma's house on my 18th birthday. First thing she's like, here, have a drink. It's like, no. She's like, you're going to have a drink. Okay, no. Then my mom comes walking in. It's like, Mom, what do I do? I don't want to. And she's like, you're in your grandma's house. It's her rules. Have a drink. So that just kind of only added to the addiction. Dealing with death, as far as like my grandfather, I mean, I was young when he died. He died of Lou Gehrig's and had an aunt die from a brain tumor. 5 years ago, I recently just lost my mom. She passed away in her sleep. I've got a younger brother who don't speak to me. Before our mom passed away, we were going to go see her, and then we get a phone call from our cousin saying that she passed away. And so what was our choice of doing was to get drunk. Never liked waking up the next morning drunk or, sober. I was functional. I'd be able to go to work and, go home, drink some more. It was tough. One thing that also helped with the addiction was that my dad, like I said, was very abusive. But he'd always throw that comment at you. You're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to be anybody. You're never going to do anything, worth, in your life. And that always played in my head. Nowadays, it doesn't. I know I am somebody that I can do something and make a difference. I may not be famous, but I can make a difference, in my community. And that's big. Knowing that I can actually shut that tape off and realize that I am somebody. I am Brad, and there's only one of me. No one will ever be able to replace that. Alcohol has created a lot of health problems in that. Of course, gain a big belly for it. Dealing with high blood pressure, dealing with, being overweight. But I can change that. Takes a lot. but it could be done. The other thing is with one addiction that you get rid of, you always find another. Now it's food. Unfortunately, or luckily enough, I'm on a mood stabilizer now that actually cuts my appetite and my smoking down a lot, which I'm happy for because it's also dealing with my depression. For a long time, there was times where I was thinking, suicide was going to be my answer also. When living in a tiny little camper trailer in an alley of your sister-in-law's house, when your marriage is falling apart, and just everything, replaying in your head when you have so much free time, things, get replayed again, like my father always saying, you're never going to be nobody. You're not, suicide was always a thought. Nowadays, with my depression, it's more of the kind of I close up, don't really talk to anybody, just kind of become a turtle, hide in my shell, and that. Years ago, if people would have known me then, I was always quiet. I was always alone. Huge introvert. Just, didn't want to deal with anybody. Now I'm more of kind of I wouldn't say a full blossom social butterfly, but, I'm getting there. I've been opening up a lot more. 5R definitely has been a big help. Living in a clean and sober house with people that have gone through the same thing. They may not have been alcohol. There a lot of them are drug addicts, past drug addicts and that, but we're all there for the same thing. We're there to lift each other up, help each other out, and stay clean and sober doing it. Shit's always going to be there, but that's where we learn to cope with it and better our lives and that, and then be able to help people out there. So, I hope my story helps others out there. 'Cause I know we all go through shit. We go through trauma. Drugs and alcohol is not the answer. It may have been at the time, but it's not now. We can lift each other up and help each other out.
Holy cow. Holy cow. All right. Well, I was off screen crying a little. First of all, we love Brad. We absolutely love Brad. Okay. I took a couple of key moments when he was like, I am good enough. I am the only Brad. That brought tears to my eyes because we think that we've failed, not just when we fail in life as addicts, right? We think that up until the point we get clean, that we've actually failed. And in the wreckage, we've created kids and damage and trauma and depression and anxiety. And for somebody to just come on and go, look, I am good enough. And that's huge. I love how you said, you used the analogy of as addicts, we like to hide, right? And he says, I'm the turtle that hides in my shell. I love that. And I've never heard that before. And that makes complete sense. We also like to isolate. So Brad, you're the perfect person to do your testimony on this. It was the perfect amount of time. It was it was heartfelt. It was deep. It was original. We love Brad. Brad's come to 5R and he's getting more and more involved. We absolutely love it. Dude, thank you for that. I was going to have, I was going to have so many questions, but I don't think it's necessary. I think that was so okay. I do have one. And this is a private conversation that I had, so hopefully I don't push on too many buttons. But let's talk about Tent City.
Oh yeah.
Talk about you living at Tent City.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
If you don't know about the West Coast and you don't know about Seattle and the original Tent City, this guy lived there, right?
Yep.
Okay. Talk about the original Tent City.
Oh. It was like a little community. We looked out for each other. We had security.
It was organized.
It was very organized in that they had rules that you had to follow, and that no drugs, alcohol, even though it got ran over by drugs and alcohol, of course. There's always going to be a bad apple that comes in and ruins it all. Ruins the whole bunch, and that. But with Tent City and that, you lived in
Fat Pat's outside.
churches would offer like their parking lots, their the backyard, wherever to hold Tent City. In fact, I was just watching the news not too long ago. They were looking for another place again because they have to move in April. But they give you about 1 to 3 months in one spot, and then you move to the next. They would you would have to go to church on the weekends to
Think about this. This is
not only to just get out there, but to try to find a potential host for the next move. When I first went to Tent City, they were in Cherry Hill. Then we moved to St. James, Holler Lake, St. Mary's. I mean, I was homeless for a good 7 months. There's programs. I don't know if it still exists now, but there's a program called Connections. They let you go in, do laundry, showered every day. They even had counselors that you'd meet up with. Guy by the name of Scott, he was there to help look for jobs. In fact, I ended up getting a job working for Pioneer Human Services, delivering food to communities, old or senior citizen places. So I started putting money away. I also had a girlfriend at the time that was homeless with me. So not only was I trying to take care of myself, but trying to take care of her, because we were living in Tent City during the winter.
yeah.
Very cold.
And I'm fascinated because Brad opened my eyes up to a lot of the, if you're watching this from somewhere else, or you're not familiar with Seattle or LA or New York or the big areas, Portland, the homeless community, it is getting to be pretty overwhelming. And what everybody notices that's the issue that we've got to address, but nobody comes up with a solution. And the reason I'm so interested in the way Tent City was ran is because it's almost like it doesn't need to be fixed, right? Like I know Johnny Ray, Mr. Controversy, right? No. All I'm saying is that when you look at, say, a homeless camp that has structure, has rules, regulations, the resources go to security. Yeah. When you think about that, it doesn't sound like a hindrance. It sounds like a community, right? And so one of the biggest issues that I have when I go out and try to help homeless or people who are homeless is they tell me they don't want any responsibility. Right. How do you help somebody who doesn't want any responsibility? Like when that's their answer, okay, I'm a drug addict. I need help. Okay, we'll take you to treatment. I need housing. Okay, we'll find you a place to live. But when they just don't want any responsibility, that's what we're trying to solve.
Well, the other thing I've realized too, with being an addict in that, every addict also has a mental illness with it.
For sure.
Depression, 100%. Anxiety.
Yep. Bipolar. Yep. Schizophrenia.
Like Johnny Ray said in most of the meetings in that, I mean, you can't treat one without the other. You have to treat both.
That's why we love
mental
Brad.
Health and the addiction.
Yep. So homelessness, mental health, addiction, they all go hand in hand. You got to address it, right? What is the main core thing that we've got to address? Well, it could be somebody's trauma. You got to start there, right? They're like, well, he was a methamphetamine addict. He wasn't always a methamphetamine addict. He wasn't born.
What got him to that point?
What got him to that point? We need to find out what that is. And we need trained, we need trained professionals, but we also need people who can relate. It seems like it's either one or the other nowadays. And again, it's the same thing that we're addressing the homeless problem in downtown Seattle. I'm curious about Tent City because of Brad lived in it and it was very structured. And to me, it's almost like, what if there was a section of town that just became permanent as Tent City, where, it's interesting, right? Like, I'm not saying we're just bouncing ideas, right?
The mayor of Seattle's actually been talking about doing sanctioned off areas for homeless and that. And they're like, well, why don't you take Tent City 3 and 4 and be the first ones to, be part of that sanction?
How would it be monitored though? And the other thing is I hate Durkin. So if you're watching this, just so you know, I'm sorry, but yes, but again, that's probably doesn't give me a lot of points with the mayor of Seattle, but whatever. Tiffany Smiley, vote Tiffany Smiley. Come in a couple months. Anyway, keep on. Watch my video. I don't care.
because I mean, like I said, with 1063, it was very structured in that. I
Mhm.
mean, it's run through the share wheel program, and that huge, big. They've got shelters all over the place. They've got 1063 and 4 that they're running. They even got storage place for to store. If you have extra stuff that you can't carry around and that with you, you can go place your stuff in a storage unit. I mean, donations for food and clothes and stuff was always coming in. There was a family that I don't know if the rumor was true, but they had won the lottery. They were homeless and ended up winning the lottery, and so to pay back, they ended up bringing meals, hot meals and stuff to 1063. Maybe twice a month.
Would before I know we're already out of 30 minutes, but I want to. This is interesting topic. Okay, this is a very interesting. This is what like-minded people need to get there, and it might not be Durkin. Now I feel like kind of an idiot. Is it Patty Murray? Who is it? Is it Murray or Durkin? Either way, I hate both of you. Anyway, okay. If you're a Democrat, oh no, I'm so good. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Hey. Anyway, okay. The reason, how would this be structured, and how would this be controlled? Right? Because again, that's something that we have to do. With expectations for the and I love that. And so our producers behind the set have sent again. I do like the idea of pallet housing. Okay, I do like the idea of sheltered living, right? Of these little, I get all that. The problem, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with who enforces the rules there.
Right.
To me, it's always been about balance. It's always been about incentive and consequence. And if one of those gets out of flux, then you have a problem. Seattle is a prime example of it being out of flux. Okay,
definitely.
When you take the police officer's ability to be able to enforce the law and increase the incentive, it doesn't create for instance, the misdemeanor thing. Okay, Everett, Snohomish County. Should we talk about it for a minute? Or maybe not. Am I too political? Okay, no. For instance, if you take a possession charge and take that down to a misdemeanor, and the incentive is to take them off the streets and to not give them a felony record and to get them into treatment. That's awesome, right? But the consequence is a misdemeanor. So if I was a drug addict as a human being and you were to say, hey, you can either have treatment or a misdemeanor, depending on how addicted I was, I'd take the misdemeanor over treatment, right? Okay, but when you say, hey, it's a felony, maximum 5 years in jail for a possession charge or treatment, who in their right mind is going to take the felony 5-year charge, right? So what they've done is they've taken the consequence out and they've increased the incentive. And now, again, you're out of flux. They need to increase the consequence with the incentive so it stays perfectly balanced. This is something that I've thought about for a lot. I study it, I research it. And to me, that seems to be the problem. So if we're going to have our homeless camp, say you and I are going to build our own homeless camp, right? We're going to go out there. We're going to have a homeless camp community, right? Who enforces the law in that community?
Everyone that can.
They govern themselves. Okay.
Because what it was actually a democracy in that we would vote on, we would come up with the rules and that, and we would vote on it.
And now what would happen if somebody broke those rules?
They would either get banned for a few days, up to a week, to 30 days, to a permanent ban.
The reason I find that interesting is if they got banned or kicked out, could they just go right outside the area and put their tent?
No, because they had security always walking around.
Okay, but I'm saying outside of the security, couldn't they just go to wherever the nearest entryway is, right? And probably okay. So again, the consequence needs to be something severe within the tent city. For instance, you break the rules, you go to jail. All your property gets revoked, right? What you got to do is you've got to let people understand that there's got to be consequences for your actions. There has to be, and I don't want a felony for somebody to hold. I'm not saying every freaking possession charge should be a felony. What I'm saying is it has to be something higher than somebody's willing to get themselves. For instance, the taggers in downtown Seattle. Yeah. These guys are amazing. They are structured. They are put together. They are well funded. These guys who are spray painting all over Seattle, I'd love to meet their president because they've got a president because the way they have tagged absolutely everything around is amazing. It's not one thing that is. I mean, it's crazy. So they're structured. They got to get their spray paint from somebody.
Let you get in touch with my younger brother. He was a tagger.
Really? Yeah, I need to know him. Maybe he's got a connection for me on the inside because I want to know who you are. I want to know what kind of an organization is this ran by? Who's the leader? Do you guys have certain buildings that you tag, certain ones that you don't? Because there are certain buildings that are not tagged.
Right.
Is it because they have a sister that works for that company, or what is the rules? Amanda's dying. Yeah.
So if somebody, so I don't know if you guys heard today, there was a story that came out about a brother that was looking for his missing brother in the homeless camps, and somebody shot him in his face and killed him. So this brother wasn't an addict, didn't live there. He was looking for his brother and he got shot. Mm-hmm. like physical violence, how would you guys handle that? Like, what was the maximum, like, that you guys, you governed your own Kent City, correct?
Right.
So when it was something severe, like physical violence or something that just was like really bad, what did you guys do? Are they gone forever? How would you do that?
Yeah, they would actually be permanently banned because violence was a big no-go too.
Cool.
No
Right.
drugs, no alcohol, no violence. You helped out, you do your shifts for security. You helped out, going to church and making, talking to potential hosts and that.
Were weapons allowed?
No.
So no guns?
No guns,
Or knives?
no knives, nothing like that.
Not for cooking or anything like that?
Everything was always plastic forks and spoons.
It's interesting.
If somebody wanted to try to get back into the camp, we would have to hold a meeting with everybody there. They would have to plead their case, tell their side of the story, and then
Like a court system?
yeah, it was kind of a court system. We would decide if they would be able to come back or not.
It's crazy because I'm like, dude, this is better structure than we have in our elected officials. Yeah, I said it, Durkin and Murray again. No, I'm just kidding. My point is that again, when you we got off this up. I'm sorry, we're already over 30 minutes, but okay. Another thing, right? So when you look at the people that come into the group, not just everybody can come in, or can they? Because I feel like the community needs to be on close terms with each other, almost like a small town themselves, right? Like they have people that they know about. Nobody's just gonna all of a sudden show up with their tent on the south wall. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guys know each other more than just a first name basis, right?
Right.
Huh.
The nice thing is when I first got to Tent City and that, I had to provide ID. They wrote my name down. They took it to because I can't remember where it is, downtown Seattle. They have the headquarters for Wheel and Share and that, and they would do background checks on you.
Okay.
See if you were a pedophile, if you had sexual assault charges, DVs, this
You
and
have
that.
an ID?
Yeah, you had to prove who you
Whoa.
were.
Wow, Brad,
they,
I'm blown away by this.
yeah, they would do it within. They had a way of being able to check within a couple hours.
What stopped Tent City?
They're still going. It's just they're now having trouble finding potential hosts now to move to.
God, it's like brilliant to me, and I don't know. Obviously, we're trying to help a problem for everybody, right? Like everybody thinks that they use this model. It's called harm reduction, and I talk about it a lot. If you've heard me speak before, I talk about harm reduction model. To me, it's just a liberal way of, well, we're going to reduce harm for the addict, which makes them not have any consequences, blah, 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 blah. But what I find so stunning about the harm reduction model is that they don't take into account that the harm is now falling on other people, right? So they're like, we're reducing the harm with the addicts. And you're like, but what about the families who have businesses in downtown Seattle? What about the kids that are on their way to school? What about littering? What about graffiti? You're not reducing harm in that. And then I also looked up the statistics of how crime increases in the cities that use the harm reduction model. Yep. These are statistics that they won't put out there. Why? Because it goes against the very model that they're trying to build. So when you look at it, you're like, well, harm reduction in Seattle, that's what we have to do. And you're like, how much has crime risen in harm reduction? Well, we don't talk about that. Of course you don't, because what it would say is that, yeah, we've reduced the amount of blood pathogens that are spread through needle use, right? But we've increased the amount of breaking and enterings. We've increased the amount of burglaries. These are things that I believe, in order for us to make a real change, we've got to get out there and we've got to talk about these things. We've got to sit in a room with our elected officials, other like-minded people like Brad, who's lived in Tent City, and sit down and have one of these conversations. And let's come up with a solution as a whole, as human beings, that can make the problem better. That's all we want to do. And in recovery, it's like you have this way to do it and this is the way you should do it. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's a one size fits all. I believe our experience and knowledge is the most powerful thing we have.
The other thing about Tent City 3 too, that I want to bring up before we end this, and that is we have our own security, but we also look out for the neighborhood too. I mean, they've stopped burglaries, they have break-ins, we have stopped crime from happening in the neighborhood because we're there. But the thing is they get a lot of the people in the neighborhood always have that stereotypical, well, it's drug addicts and alcoholics, and they're never
which there are anything.
Which yes, there is,
right?
But not every. I mean, especially with COVID now, it's gotten to the point, people are getting kicked out of their homes, and come on hard times, lost their job.
Inflation's the highest rate it's ever been.
Right?
Let's go.
I mean, most people are living one paycheck from being homeless.
Yep.
And that's, COVID has created a lot more homeless. A lot of people don't know how to deal with it. But there are resources out there.
We would definitely have to regulate trash. We would definitely have to regulate, the garbage. We'd have to regulate the graffiti. We'd have to regulate the drugs.
And that's
but to be honest, it sounds
because each site that we'd go to, and that money that was donated to Sharon Wheel, and that they would use to get the dumpster from waste management.
Sharon, what's it called?
The Wheel and Share.
Wheel and Share. Did you write that down? I don't know what that is, and I'd like to research that.
But yeah, they would, get a dumpster from waste management. They would also get porta potties, and get them cleaned once a week. And that, it was a well-ran community. And if anything screwed up, everybody paid the consequences for it. If, you caused any problems in that, we would get rid of you.
So we are definitely going to be talking more about this. He has opened up my mind for a bunch of different topics, and not just topics, discussions. And I'm really looking forward to, you'll be involved in that, Brad.
Oh,
if we have more of these discussions, even if I was to say meet an elected official, I have vote Tiffany Smiley, obviously, in May. She is an amazing woman who is going to be an advocate for homelessness, mental health, and addiction, somebody who I hope to have a sit down with and discuss possible connections. And so again, you will be in part of this. Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. There's Brad. See, that's pretty good. Pretty impressive,
awesome.
Huh? So, okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Brad, man. You've opened up my mind to a bunch of things. And he, again, advocate for 5R, an amazing person. We love Brad. Pat's showing up now. We love Pat. Amanda's watching. Kyle's drawing pictures. Look at that amazing Thor. That's pretty bad. Right. That's pretty amazing. Okay, and that was just since he's been here, which is pretty impressive. Okay, so let's do my plugs. Tuesday night meetings. If you want to talk about the topics that we just talked about, come join us at 6:30 at New Life Church. On Tuesday nights, we talk about stuff like this. This week's topic, I'll give you a little hint. We're going to stick to the AAA. We did the affirmations. We did the making amends. So let's talk about ambition. What are our ambitions in recovery? What do we want to do? Do we want to just own a home and go to work? Do we want to have a recovery program like me? Do we want to, to go back to school? Do we want to be a captain of our own ship? Whatever it is, what are your ambitions in recovery? Let's talk about it. Come to our group. Tell us what you want to do in your life. And we'd love to share it with you, share our experiences, share our different thoughts. Tuesday nights are really amazing. Monday nights should be testimonies. We're going to do testimonies every other week. Amanda and I go live on 7 o'clock. Saturdays, join Fat Pat and me and Dan and all the guys at Oak Street and at 11 for our go live there. Friday nights, we're at the Diversion Center. The second Saturday of every month, we speak at Oaks. And the last Sunday of every month, we speak at Fifth Street Clean and Sober Living Facilities. Yeah. So we are constantly doing stuff. We might add another meeting in there. I don't know, depending on how much time I have. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Yeah, really appreciate all your support. Without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Brad. You're the bomb.